Hello, I'm Tyler, this is the Imaginary Axis, and in interest of keeping this video below 35 minutes, I'm going to be going really fast. So consider yourself warned, because we're about to settle the score in every Batman vs. Superman fight ever. Here we go. The Dark Knight Returns. In this universe, Superman is significantly weaker, and with 20 years of prep time, a nuke, a kryptonite arrow, a supersuit, all of Gotham City's power grid, and help from the Green Arrow and Robin, Batman manages to kind of beat Superman before faking a heart attack. He says he could have made the kryptonite more lethal, but in all honesty, Superman also could have punched a lot harder, or killed him at pretty much any point in the match. The truth is, with so many conditions stilted toward Batman, a fair amount of outside help, and Superman restraining himself the whole fight, it's hard to call this one a fair victory for Batman. It reads more like he was just interested in getting Superman to back off. But Execution 2001 fixes that problem. In this alternate future, Superman basically starts killing people, stealing from governments, and dismantling the world's weapons. The President asks Batman to do something, and Superman defeats several Justice League members before Batman steps in with a supersuit, Robin, and a supercharged kryptonite ring Lex Luthor once used. There are a few questionable things about this issue too, but I'm more comfortable counting it as our first Batman win because the conditions don't seem quite as unfair this time around. World's finest cartoon. Batman interrogates a guy, Superman asks him to stop, Batman tosses him across the room, Superman slams him back. Not much really happened here. Speaking of which, I'm also giving no point to their fight in the Batman, because Batman couldn't do anything to stop Superman, but still ended up curing him of mind control before he splattered Batman all over the wall. Batman the Brave and the Bold, on the other hand, goes to Superman, because while Batman did hold him off for a little while with his supersuit and crypto, Superman still casually stomped him, and timing was the only thing that saved Batman's head from being crushed. Tower of Babel. It turns out Batman has contingency plans to take down each member of the Justice League in case they ever go rogue. Superman is exposed to some special kryptonite Batman's been experimenting with, and it turns his skin clear, forcing him to absorb solar radiation even faster than usual. This manages to completely incapacitate Superman as all of his senses increase at a dramatic rate that he just can't keep up with. Granted, this plan would be terrible if Superman was just on a rampage, because it would only make him more powerful, but it still works on a Superman who doesn't want to kill everything, so point to Batman. The Dark Knight strikes again. A sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, Superman shows up at the Batcave under orders from the President. He only wants to talk, but Batman uses the home field advantage of the Green Arrow, the Flash, the Atom, and Kryptonite gauntlets to systematically beat down Superman. No one gets a point here because that's way too much help to be considered a win, and this comic sucks. Batman Hush. My favorite fight between the two. Batman lures a mind-controlled Superman into a lead piping system filled with flammable gases to incapacitate his X-ray and heat vision. He then takes out a kryptonite ring and manages to get a few hits on him before Catwoman throws Lois Lane off a building, which shocks Superman enough to snap him out of it. I'm giving this one to Superman for the following reasons. 1. Batman nearly breaks his hand while doing this. 2. Batman admits multiple times that if Superman wasn't fighting the mind control and holding back a lot, he would already be dead. And 3. The battle ends with Superman about to crush Batman with a car. The only reason Batman survives this is because Catwoman stopped everything at the absolute last second. Public enemies. An evil Superman from the future shows up in the Batcave and slaps Batman around like it's nobody's business. This should be the perfect time for Batman to use one of his contingencies, but no. He only survives another car being thrown at him because this Superman disappears back to the future at just the right time. Superman Red Sun. Okay, this guy may or may not be Bruce Wayne, but he manages to lure Superman into a room filled with red sun lamps and knock the snot out of him. Superman only gets out of this mess because Wonder Woman saves him, but ultimately I'm not giving anyone this point because Superman didn't know red suns weakened him in this universe, and everything about this plan came from Lex Luthor, not Batman. The Trust. Superman goes berserk because of mind control. Batman grapples his leg, but Superman acts like he isn't even there. A kryptonite dart slows Superman down long enough for Batman to remove the mind control. Not really counting it because Superman wasn't trying. Smoke and Mirrors. Batman is possessed by Kryptonite Man, who wants to kill Superman. Superman manages to basically paralyze him even though he's literally glowing with kryptonite and forces Kryptonite Man out. No point because Batman wasn't in control of his own actions, effectively eliminating his strategic prowess from the equation. Pretty much the same thing happened in Enemies Among Us, except for Batman was possessed by Blackrock that time. Batman loses his brain, gains superpowers, Superman punches him back to normal, still no point. Lex Luthor, Man of Steel. Batman is convinced to take down Superman, so he makes a plan, grabs some kryptonite, and gets completely stomped when Superman blows the kryptonite away, drops Batman in an alley, and stops just short of punching his head off. Justice. Batman and Alfred attack Superman and Captain Marvel while under control by microscopic mechanical worms. It's a long story. And even with kryptonite, it doesn't end well. Sacrifice. Superman is mind-controlled by Max Lord into thinking he's fighting Doomsday, which basically just results in him nearly beating Batman to death while fighting off the Justice League Watchtower defenses. Batman only survives this encounter because Wonder Woman shows up to save him. This is Superman from Earth 3. This is Batman from Earth 51. They're basically the exact same as the Batman and Superman you're familiar with, except for this Superman is evil and this Batman has no problem killing people for justice. They met in Countdown to Final Crisis, and despite Batman having a contingency plan for him, evil Superman basically just punched his head off. Torment. Collaboration between Scarecrow and Desaad leads to Darkseid having full control over Superman, and Batman plans a mission to Apokolips to rescue him. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, and Superman would have killed Batman if not for the timely arrival of the goddess Becca. Superbat. Batman and Superman have swapped powers in this one, and the unbelievable strength has caused Batman to go mad with power and more or less try to take over the world. He beats up Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and the Green Lantern before a depowered Superman lures him into a trap where he gets Zatanna to switch their powers back. I can't give this victory to anyone with a good conscience, because Zatanna technically defeated Batman in the end, but Superman did manage to outsmart him. Nanopolis. This one is confusing. First of all, Batman and Superman are in a miniature universe, and some nanobots have transferred enough excess power to Superman to basically cause him to lose it. Batman knows he can't do anything to defeat Superman, but he does manage to siphon off the extra power to turn Superman back to normal. Justice League Origin. Batman and Superman meet for the first time, but Batman's been studying Superman from afar, which does no good. He empties his entire utility belt, but Superman just walks through it. A handful of dust. Batman gets super strength from a modified version of Scarecrow's spear toxin and immediately becomes hostile towards Superman. He gets a good hit in, but Superman knocks him out in one punch. Smallville Season 11. One of Batman's investigations requires him to break a criminal out of jail. Superman confronts him to find Batman already knows he's weak to red sun radiation and has outfitted his suit with weapons to stop him. It lets him hit Superman a few times, but that's about it. Batman Endgame. The Joker infects the entire Justice League with a special toxin that basically turns them into the Joker. Massively prepared this time, Batman readies a super suit which is customized to utilize every Justice League member's weakness. When he confronts Superman, he has a special force field to fend off his heat vision and freeze breath, along with miniature red sun shrunk down by the atom to make his attacks actually hurt. Superman forces a building to collapse on the suit, tears it apart, and flies Batman high into the air before Batman spits a special substance in Superman's face called kryptonite gum. A very impressive showing by Batman, but I'm not giving anyone a point because 1. The Joker toxin powers down everyone it's used on, so Superman wasn't as 100%. 2. Superman was literally insane during this encounter, negating any of his usual intelligence. And 3, if you don't think any of that matters, remember I didn't count the times when Batman lost but wasn't in his right mind either. If Superman was thinking normally, he could have killed Batman here, or, dropped him when he spat the gum out. The guy can see the Flash when he's moving faster than light. I'm sure he can see gum being spat at him before it hits him. Batman Superman Endgame. In a plot far too convoluted to explain, Batman gains superpowers, has his strength and agility massively enhanced by alien nanotech, and his body is being controlled by 90 million gamers all over the world. Superman doesn't actually want to fight him, and in fact ends up purposefully letting Batman beat him in order to turn the tables on the real villain. Crossworld. A younger, weaker Superman is transported to Earth 2 and comes into conflict with an older, more experienced Batman. Batman has a force field of kryptonite radiation in his special armor, but Superman basically just tears through it and proceeds to knock Batman around, even though he's in a weakened state. Earth 2 Batman was confused the whole time and didn't take the fight seriously because he thought this Superman was the Superman from his universe, so I'm not giving anyone a point. Arena. Batman and Superman are imprisoned on Warworld and forced to fight each other. Batman uses kryptonite so his blows can actually do some damage, but no one gets a point because both parties were just trying to pad out the fight for as long as they possibly could. Future's End. In a future timeline, the DC universe is at war and Batman makes some questionable decisions to end things for good. This really ticks off Superman and he flies straight to the Batcave, knocks Batman around, and completely destroys the place. The Amazo Virus. Batman is infected with a virus that gives him superpowers but also puts his body under the virus's control. He can't manage to beat Superman, but again, this Batman isn't in his right mind. Which brings us all the way to the last confrontation I know about, the popular 2013 video game and tie-in comic series, Injustice: Gods Among Us. And just to clarify again, this is our last stop, because the game developers are on record saying this game was meant to answer the question of who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman. The results? In an alternate universe, Superman basically becomes a dictator and recruits a number of other superheroes and supervillains to help him. Batman forms a resistance with the heroes and villains opposing him, but ultimately he needs to pull over parallel universe versions of himself and the rest of the League to fight Superman's regime. It doesn't go well, and with the resistance on its last legs, even more people dead and Superman decimating cities, Batman goes to the one man he believes capable of beating Superman in a fair fight, Superman. Well, what am I supposed to get from that? Does it mean Batman wins the fight because he technically pulled over the other Superman? Does it mean Superman wins the fight because the only person powerful enough to stop him is himself? Okay, look. In the final tally, out of 45 fights, Superman won 14, Batman won 3, and it was inconclusive or drastically unfair 28 times. But did you really expect anything else? Look, I love Batman. In fact, sometimes he's my favorite superhero. My absolute favorite. But at the end of the day, no amount of prep time can stop Superman from bulldozing him at several billion times the speed of light or just killing him by getting out of bed a little aggressively in the morning. I didn't even count the time Superman defeated Batman along with the entire Justice League. And I know most people don't really want to hear that. I mean, Batman's written to be relatable, and Superman's written to be a god. We know we can't beat gods in real life, so sometimes we like to live it out through stories. But there's a better story underneath all that. Batman and Superman see each other as best friends. There's very little pouting or bragging about who's stronger. They treat each other like equals because that's the kind of heroes they are. So who wins in a fight between Batman and Superman? The answer is always the same. Neither of them. And in my own opinion, that's how every fight ends. I can only hope you agree.